Hi there. My name is Bruno and today I will teach you how to play Draft Day Soccer Edition. In Draft Day Soccer Edition, you play the role of soccer club managers. Build a team and develop your players through practice sessions. And improve the club's infrastructures. In the meantime, fans are very demanding and, in order to please them, you must fulfill some goals. Assemble the best possible team. And take advantage of synergies between players and lead them to stardom. In Draft Day Soccer Edition, you can score points in several possible ways. And the player with the most victory points is declared the winner. Do you have what it takes to lead your team to success? Now, it's time for me to teach you how to play the game. Let's start with the setup. For this example, I'll set up a 3-player game. There's no much difference for a 2 or 4-player game, so this will give you an idea how it works. Each player receives a player board sheet, a marker, or a pen, or even a pencil, 5 game cards, and 2 goal cards. The player setup is almost done, but we'll get back to it in a few seconds. Now create a deck of game cards. But since there's a lot of cards, I suggest that you create 2 or 3 separate stacks, so that the deck is not too high. So the game cards are already on the table. The next step is to create a deck of goal cards. Then reveal 4 of them. Those cards are objectives that players will try to complete during the game. And regardless of the number of players, 4 goal cards will always be revealed. I said a few moments ago that the player setup was almost done. Right. But there's one thing left before we start the game. Each player drew 2 goal cards, but before starting the game he will have to discard one of them. These are the 2 goal cards that are in my hand and I have to get rid of one of them. Tough choice, but I'm pretty confident that I'll hire 3 players from Africa. So I'm going to pick the card shown on the left and discard the other one. The card you have just discarded? It goes to a discard pile next to the goal cards deck. Now that the setup is completed, you can start playing. But wait, have I taught you how to play? Let's go step by step. Now, I'm going to leave the screen so you can see everything you need. The sequence of play of Draft Day Soccer Edition is divided in 2 phases. The week and the weekend. Let's break down the week phase. First of all, we are in the preseason. We will be managing different aspects of a football club, but we are not going to play matches. We are managers, not coaches. But what does the week phase represent? The week phase represents a working week within a soccer club. From Monday to Friday we will perform different tasks. Each game card we receive at the beginning of the week represents an action taken on one of those days. Friday is our day off, and that is why one of these game cards will be discarded at the end of this phase. The game starts at the week phase. Each player receives 5 game cards and the actions are quite simple to perform. Simply choose one of the cards, fill your player board sheet and pass the rest to the opponent on your left. You will receive cards from your opponent on the right and you will repeat this process until you have only 2 cards. What happens if only 2 cards were passed to you? Select one to play and one to discard. And the discarded card will go to the discard pile next to the game cards. So, this is where the week phase ends and the weekend phase begins. There are 4 types of cards that we can find in the game cards deck. Player cards, improvement cards, practice cards, and event cards, and these can be positive or negative. Let me explain how a player card works. Here is an example. Here you have an icon that shows which continent the player is from. This is the value of the player's skill. Values range from 1 to 5. Here it indicates which field position the player can occupy. These geometric shapes correspond to certain characteristics of the athlete on the field. With these shapes you can create synergies between players. The athlete's name and the country of origin do not interfere with the game. It is purely thematic. Now it's time for the improvement cards. Here it is. These cards have an icon that corresponds to a sector on the player sheet. It means that you should go to that sector and cross out a space with this color and symbol. What about the practice cards? These cards represent specific training sessions, which are crucial for the development of the athletes and the team. Check the icon on the card and go to that sector. Cross out a space with this color and symbol. Note that you must start from the top row and then you'll unlock spaces adjacent to the one you've crossed out. This is the practice section. All of these spaces in the top row are unlocked. The card that served as an example is a physical training card. So we can only cross this space. Now, these two spaces are also unlocked. The small symbols between spaces are bonuses that we will immediately get when we cross two adjacent spaces. Moving on. Let's talk about the event cards. There are two types of cards. Those with the thumbs up and those with the thumbs down. These cards positively or negatively influence the fan's satisfaction. Basically, some cards will earn you points and the others will take away points. I'm now going to show you 2 rounds of an ongoing game so you can actually see how Draft Day Soccer Edition is played. For the purposes of this example, this is the current situation of my game. A weekend phase has now ended and we are going to start a new week phase. As you can see, some information is already filled in the sheet. All players have drawn 5 cards from the deck. These are mine. Now I have to choose one. I think this card can be interesting because I'll be able to activate a synergy. Yes, I will pick it. Let's fill in the sheet with the information on the player card. First, he's an attacker. And he is European. Let's cross this space. Now we choose where we want to place it. Here seems fine. And here you fill in his skill level and the respective geometric shapes. As I said earlier, this choice would activate a synergy between players. Between this line are connected 2 square figures. This means that, in some way, these 2 players combine well with each other and this will trigger a synergy bonus. Here in this section I can cross out any of the squares. 2 of the squares give us an immediate bonus. And at the end of the game, completed rows and/or columns will earn us victory points. I will choose this square. It rewards me with a ball that you can cross out here. This time I will choose a different type of card. I believe this is the best option. Why? I'll choose it and you'll see. I will pass the remaining cards to my opponent now, so they not get in the way. Here. That's why I chose this card. Crossing this space completes the line and I will earn this bonus. This bonus is associated with this section. Supposedly, this new sponsorship brought happiness to supporters. I will cross here and it's done. My opponent is now passing the cards to me. Here they are. Which card should I choose? Well, I don't have a goalkeeper yet. It looks good to me. We've been through this step before, so I won't explain it again. I'll just fill in the player's sheet and proceed with the game. He is a South American level 3 goalkeeper and no synergy has been triggered. I already have the last 2 cards that were passed to me and now I will have to choose one and discard the other. Oh my gosh. I don't have much choice since I have already filled the goalkeeper position and I cannot replace players. I think the fans will be upset. Crossing here and the week phase is over. We have finally reached the weekend phase. At this stage all players first check whether they have achieved any or some of the goals of the face-up goal cards. Then they check if they have reached their own goal card. Note that a given goal card can be scored by multiple players. These are the 4 goal cards that are face-up on the table. At this time, simultaneously, players check what goals they have achieved. Let's see if I managed to complete any of these goals. This first card says that we got to have a technique practice and a shooting practice. Let's check on my sheet. Not. I just have the technique practice so far. Let's move on to the second card. This one indicates that our goalkeeper should create synergies with at least 3 defenders. Let's check. No. We don't even have 3 defenders yet. And the only defender we have has no synergy connection with the goalkeeper. So let's move on to the third goal card. This goal card says that we should have at least 2 South American players in our roster. Let's see then. At last. I even have 3 South American players on the roster. This goal has been achieved and I am entitled to the victory points that it grants plus its bonuses. Let's do it. Our player sheet has a section like this. It is here that I take note of the points earned through the goal cards. Attention, during the game we can only complete 6 goals. This is one of the conditions that triggers the end of the game. Let's score the goal card. Let's not forget that the card also gives me a thumbs up bonus. We go to the Happy Fans section and cross another space. This bonus represents an increase of fans on this continent. Let's go to the next goal card. Before that, let's discard this goal card. Let me remind you that all completed cards are discarded and the rest remain. This card here indicates that we should have at least 4 level 1 players in the squad. We all know I don't. So let's move forward. It is at this point that we check our personal goal card. Let's do that. Cool. Another goal accomplished. The card requires 1 strength practice and 1 technique practice. Shall we confirm? As you can see, the goal is achieved. This goal card gives me 6 points that I will already write down. And it gives me an improvement bonus of my choice. Let's go to that section. And I will choose to cross this space here. I then discard my goal card. We take 1 card from the deck for each discarded card and replace it on the table. Then, players who have completed personal goals draw a card from the deck for themselves. If at this stage one of the players has completed 6 goal cards, the game ends immediately. Otherwise we move on to the week phase. Let's pretend that some rounds have passed and we will simulate a turn in which the end of the game will be triggered. There are 3 ways to trigger the end of the game. There are 3 sections that can trigger it and are marked by this icon. One of the situations has already been mentioned. If a player completes the 6th goal card during a weekend phase, the end of the game is triggered. Finish the weekend phase and then the game ends. Another way to trigger the end of the game is if one of the players crosses the red fans space in the unhappy fans section. It is certainly not a good way to end the game. Still, no one can lose more than 20 points in this section. If this happens, go to a final weekend phase and then the game ends. The last way to trigger the end of the game is if a player during the week phase completes his team. We move immediately to the weekend phase and only after that the game ends. Note that when the end of the game is triggered during the week phase, we immediately move on to the weekend phase. As I said, we advanced a few rounds and this is the current state of my game. We are starting a week phase and I receive these 5 game cards. I'll pick this one. I will pass the cards I don't want to the player on my left and choose this improvement. I go to the improvements section and cross this red space. I just completed a diagonal line that gives me an x4 boost bonus. For now it is activated and not used. New cards arrive in my hand. I will try to take advantage of the bonus I received right now on this player. So I'm going to pass these on and keep this one. Let me explain how boost bonuses work. I'll just zoom in this section. These bonuses can be very powerful if they are used at the right time. We can only use them if they are already activated and before placing a player in the team. Here we mark the activation of the bonus. Here we mark the use of the bonus. But what do they mean? When using a boost bonus, simply multiply the player's skill level by the boost's value. This will be the player's new skill level. In this case, Evans will be level 16. I'll complete the rest in a second. Let's fill in the data tracker. He is a defender from Europe and the geometric figures are already filled. I managed to create 2 synergies. Between him and this midfielder and with the goalkeeper. Very cool. Let's see what does this trigger. Since I created a synergy between circles, I will cross this space. For the triangles, I will cross this space that will give me a practice bonus. Let's go to the practice section then. Here I cross this blue shooting practice. This will give me a lot of bonuses. Let's take it easy. This action triggered 4 different bonuses. Great. Here I will activate a 2 times boost bonus. Here I get a star and here I get an improvement bonus. Finally I get a synergy of my choice. The order in which I perform the bonuses is determined by me in order to get the best out of them. I'll start by activate the 2 times boost bonus by crossing this circle. Then this star over here. And this space here in the improvement section. And this one in the synergy section. Moving on. My opponent passes me 3 cards. My team already has its defensive line completed and I already have a goalkeeper, which means that I have no room for any one of them. When I can't do an action, I cross a space on the unhappy fan's track. Now I have to discard 1 card and pass the others. As if that were not enough, one of my opponents indicates that he completed his team, thus triggering the end of the game. I no longer receive cards from my opponent on the right, and the cards I pass to the opponent on the left go to the discard pile. Now all players have to check how many spaces in the team were left unassigned. For each vacancy we have to cross a space on the unhappy fan's track. As you can see, I got a cross too. When the end of the game is triggered, a final weekend phase takes place. So let's see if I can reach any goal cards. I can easily see that the first 3 have not been reached, but the last one requires that the sum of my defender's skill level must be equal to or greater than 15. Awesome. That one is completed. So let's go to my player sheet to fill in what's missing. First I write down the points in the achieved goals section. That's 10 victory points. And now I'm going to cross this triangle in the synergy section. I completed a column that allows me to earn 8 more victory points. As much as I would like to complete my personal goal card, I did not succeed. So I discard it, and now all players will count their points to see who is the winner. It is in this section that we record the points obtained throughout the game. Let's start with the synergy section. I completed this column that gives me 8 points plus this line that gives me 15 victory points. Altogether we have 23 points in this section. Now is the time to score the happy fan's track. The space to be scored is the leftmost free. Here are 15 more victory points. The next section to be scored is the stars and balls. In this section, to find out how many points you have scored, multiply the number of stars by the number of balls. In this case it gives a total of 8 victory points. Now we move on to the goal card section. Here we add the points from all the goal cards we completed, and the sum is the number of points we received from this section. Here I got 38 victory points. The next section is our squad. It's quite simple. It adds up the value of all players, and those are the victory points you will earn. Here I won 39 points. Finally we remove the points corresponding to the unhappy fan's track. So I'm going to subtract 14. Now to finish, we add up all these values, and whoever scores the most points is declared the winner. You should now be able to play Draft Day Soccer Edition. I really hope you enjoy the game. Thanks and see you soon.